So here's his infamous sock puppet account, faceless bureaucrat, and it said, and this is from what 2021. So it said, 7 more years, folks. Enjoy yourselves while you can. LMAO. Hashtag UFO Twitter. Hashtag UAP Twitter pic. And even recently, I don't know if you guys seen, even the Lue crew has started to resurface this and be like, oh, something's coming. Oh. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit ominous, a little bit one of his early little indicators of like, oh, is Lou part of this little Eschaton crew too? Anyone have any thoughts on this? Kind of
Yeah,
inconsequential, but yeah, go for it, Orc.
yeah, thermonuclear war between now and 2026, where it ends. I don't know how many bombs get dropped. Uh, Perhaps an alien reveal saying like the Bledsoe style, we're the good ones. Solar micronova 2028, and then whoever the fuck these visitors are, 2033, 2034, to watch the apocalypse unfold. I would say I really wouldn't expect an unlocking of the crust before 2040, but everybody is saying abductees, oh, the timeline is sped up. You could have an unlocking of the crust as early as 10 years from now and as late as 20 years from now. So I'm saying, like, civil war, economic collapse, thermonuclear warfare, all that has to happen before you have a solar micronova. You cannot fight World War III with nukes in the dark, because then you just are bombing cities and the rest of the world doesn't even know you nuked them. Does that make sense? Like all of that stuff has to happen before solar micronova.
Okay, Ulrich, what about this? So the NHI are coming back to witness the end of the world. Why would the NHI want to do that? Could there be some kind of soul harvest involved there? I mean, why would they need to come back here to witness the end of the world? There's got to be a reason.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
So this is Chains of the Sea. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the actual comment. So I'll just read it. This is Lue Elizondo in a Reddit thread a few years back. He says, if I could share one anecdotal story of the phenomena, I directed people's attention to a collection of short stories to a novella called Chains of the Sea. In the second short story, the author discusses the day UFOs arrived. From a science fiction perspective, both the way the short story describes the phenomena is very similar to people in real life that have described the phenomena, personal experiences. While I'm not endorsing this story as being truthful or accurate, I think it provides a fundamentally different perspective, and it forces us to think about this phenomena in a different way. Though the book was written in the early 70s, the author had an incredible insight into modern day life and was able to incorporate aspects of artificial intelligence and geopolitical situations that we have today. So, if anyone wanted a new perspective of the phenomena in an entertaining way, I would direct them to Chains of the Sea. And real quick, we're just going to go power right on through to the next. We got Tupa's little thing here. Tupa,
Oh shit!
can we play this?
Yeah, yeah. I,
Put you on the spot.
I, I, I was just thinking, man, I should have just shared this with you, and it's just on here. Yes.
So Tupa did a little air rendition. We'll just play it through, and then we'll talk about what the contents of this book are and why it's kind of interesting that Lue Elizondo did it. But yeah, that's a Chupacabra.
Hell yeah, dog.
AI asked the aliens why they had ignored all previous attempts to establish contact. The aliens, who up until now had apparently been barely aware of the existence of humans, if they had been aware of it at all, answered that they were already in full contact with the government and ruling race of the planet. For a brief, ego-satisfying moment, AI thought that the aliens were referring to itself and its cousin intelligences. But the aliens weren't talking about them either. AI talked with the aliens for the rest of the night. There was much of the conversation that AI didn't report to USADCOM, but it finally realized that it had to tell them something. So at 3 a.m., AI released to USADCOM a list that the aliens had dictated, of the dominant species of Earth, of the races that they were in contact with, and regarded as the only significant inhabitants of the planet. It was a long document, full of names that didn't mean anything, listing dozens of orders, species, and subspecies of creatures that no one had ever heard of before. It drove USADCOM up a wall with baffled rage, and made them wonder if an intelligence could go crazy, or if the aliens were talking about a different planet entirely. AI paid little attention to the humans' displeasure. It was completely intrigued with the aliens, as were its cousin intelligences, who were listening in through the telepathic link. The intelligences had long suspected that there might be some other unknown and intangible form of life on Earth. That was one of the extrapolated solutions to a mountain of wild data that couldn't be explained by normal factors. But they had not suspected the scope and intricacy of that life. A whole other biosphere, according to the aliens, the old idea of a parallel world, except that this wasn't parallel but coexistent, two separate creations inhabiting the same matrix, but using it in totally different ways, wrapped around each other like a geometric design in an Escher print, like a Chinese puzzle ball, and only coming into contact in a very rare and limited fashion. The aliens, who seemed to be some kind of distant relatives of the other races of Earth, had a natural bias in their favor, and tended to disregard the human race, its civilization, and the biosphere that contained it. They dismissed all of it, out of hand, as insignificant. This did not bode well for future human-alien relations.
So there we go. I guess I'll just say it really quickly because I do kind of want to. We do kind of got to get through a few more slides here. But
That was sick.
that was sick, Tupa. Although I do think 11 Labs has come a long way since that one went out. The narration probably could be a little bit improved. But
Dude,
it's
and like they got AI video now, dude. Like, fuck.
yeah, they have AI video. You could probably just run that through all those shots you already did. But yeah, so basically the TLDR of this book that Lue Elizondo recommended is, and spoiler alert, I'm just gonna spoil it really quick. Basically, aliens come. They're basically like interested in humans, and at this time, and this is in the 70s. This book is written. AI on Earth is kind of already pretty good, and
Yeah, it takes place in the future a little bit.
okay, yeah, but it does take place in the future. But the aliens are basically interacting with the AI on Earth and separate like crypto-terrestrial native to Earth. I forget what they're called. Tipa, what are they called? Is it this guy, by the way? Is this one of those things?
Yeah, that's one of those things. So there's just all these different life forms on Earth that no one knew about, and they use the planet in a totally different way. So we just never see them except for in rare occasions. And the story is also it talks about this alien invasion, right? These several ships land, a lot of them in America, some of them in like Venezuela, some of them cause chaos around. But overall, AI starts. They unleash AI. Humans are like, fuck it, just let it go, dude. Let it go and see if it can talk to these things because they can't establish contact. And so AI gets a hold of them, and then they start to learn about these creatures. But there's this like B story that's happening alongside this big story, and it's this little boy and his classmates, and how shitty this little boy's like life is. And this little boy's life is so shitty that like he's like stuck in this weird trauma state. And he never lost the ability to see both worlds, which they hint like it, like when you're a kid, you can see it, but as you get older, it goes away. But he can still see it, and he must be like 11 or 12 or something, and he can still see these things, and he talks with them, but none of the other kids can see him, and he's figured out that he can't talk about them around other people or whatever. But it's an interesting little B story that goes along with it because you're learning that some people around have been able to interact with these things. These things can see people. They just do shit in a whole different like way, and like the
So that's what's interesting, right? Just the setup of it is that there's 4 different kind of intelligent groups: the humans, the AI, the invading aliens, and then the native to Earth non-human intelligence, which is interesting in its own right because it's like
crypto-terrestrials. That's what
and Fringe had to bounce out, so thank you, Fringe. That was awesome. Now we got the boys here. I'm glad that Tupa came right at the right time. Like I feel like you're kind of energized, and
Oh yeah, we're back. We're back, baby.
We're on hour 4, yo.
We're back, baby. We're getting through it.
And Red, I'm sorry for talking so long, man.
No, you're good, bro. I love you. I love you. I honestly am sorry. I want you to know I felt bad as soon as I said. I was like, fuck.
No, you don't need to feel bad, man. No, I was talking a long time, but I love that you put all these slides together. Like this has been fucking amazing.
Is it fun, right? This is some copper dooming, dude. Yeah. So okay, so
epic stream.
On top of the 4 different things, right, which I just find fascinating, and now after we read Lue's book, it's like, oh, of course he probably like resonated with the kid that was getting bullied because he says he was getting bullied. But one of the things that, and why you included it here, is because how does the story end, Tupa? How does Chains of the Sea end?
All right, yeah, we're spoiling this bitch. So the aliens start talking to the AI in depth about what they're going to do, and they're like, yeah, like here's the deal, we're taking all the cool people, and they're gonna hang around, and then we're gonna just basically like destroy the planet, and then it like rebuilds and shit. So
Yeah, so it ends with a catastrophe, and basically all the humans dying, and the AI and the aliens and
Dude, it's horrifying though, bro. Like these fucking things, the ships are like hovering over the ground, and they're massive, and nothing ever happens. The AI is just talking to them, and eventually, these aliens come out, and they're like these like they describe them as like looking like everything. Some of them look like traditional aliens. Some of them look like Bigfoot. Some of them are like weird crystalline figures that are constantly changing as they move. Some of them are morphing in between all these different like mythical. It's so weird what they're doing, and they're just kind of fifth dimensional creatures moving through the third dimension. It's so weird. And then a soldier touches one, and he turns to ash or like something, and then everyone freaks out. They're like, "Oh no, this is bad. This is bad."
I heard, by the way, did you guys hear that? I think it's being optioned for a film by like a big studio, like not just like some like indie film project or something, but like someone's gonna try and do it
Really?
right.
No, good. It's really good. But I mean, will they do it justice? I'm not sure. It is just its own thing.
But also
Definitely worth reading.
to this whole thing, right? And maybe I'll just go back for this part. This was for me one of the first big like, oh shit, there's a low-key eschaton element to this. This was a few years back. This is maybe 2019, 2018, and I wasn't really following the whole Faces Bureaucrat stuff at the time. So this is the first time I remember Lou being like, okay, well, there's this book, and like the only thing that's like really different is the element of AI, but like the whole end of the world thing is kind of a big part, and it's kind of a wild, right? If you're gonna be like, and again, it's like I think they think the world's gonna end, bro, and they're just trying to say it in the ways they can.
Well, you know what I think that they're accelerationists. I think that they want the angels to come back. They want the gods to come back. I think they're waiting for them to come back. I think that they're just not showing it.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why they are hyper secretive about their shit, dude. They're so secretive about it because they got plans on plans on plans, and they've it looks like they want to push the eschaton. It looks like they want to push the showdown, right?
Yeah, were you here for the Greer clip where he played it and he lays it out? He's like, there's a, like, I think he even said Satanist cabal of like evil, really sick people, and they're all into the eschaton and bringing about the end of the world. I was like, Greer is on the money again, bro.
Dude, I believe it. I believe it. Like, it's like the same groups that know about this know what they should be doing about this, and they're not doing it. That should be that's suspect
that's what
to
Oren
me.
feels like too, right? It's like you're just gonna tell us about this book, but not like help us actually prepare. You know what I mean? So, Ulrich, what are your thoughts on the changes to the story, the way it ends, and just the way its place in modern ufology? Because like this book was kind of unheard of before Lou kind of birthed life into it, and then now like the books sell for like $800 and stuff like that. But it wasn't like a book that prior to Lou's comment that was like in ufology circles a lot. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Ulrich?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a correlate here, I think, with the three body problem as well, which is deception and betrayal.
The next slide, by the way.
Oh really? And so like, can you preview that thing that Saber put up? He said it looks to like global warming. Exactly. In the book, it ends with the world being cooked by the aliens, but to the humans, it would just look like global warming. Now, that alien interview documentary, regardless of what people feel, whether the being is real, whether the video is real, they had an anniversary in 2008. It's on my highlights, but the pseudonymous Victor dooms pretty hard in the part 2 of the anniversary interview, and he has a line that doesn't even get caught by the closed captions, and he says it in French, and he says, après moi le déluge, le déluge solaire, after me the flood, the solar flood, which is a solar micronova. So this is the thing that you want to see.
Hold up, this is Victor. This is the Victor who you and Sarah identified.
Yeah.
You said that?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and remember, this transition period around this time is exactly post the Brooklyn Bridge abduction. This is exactly around the time when everything gets more stovepipe, when we lose, after Bush Sr., we lose the presidential oversight that we normally had, right? You have Carter, right? Like Carter in tears, like is very suggestive of like a cataclysmic event. So when you piece all these things together, when I see Chains of the Sea, the real problem that people have when they get enraged, when they get angry, just really comes down to the sequence of events, like what came first. So if these beings are here and they've always been here, you can't say, are they crypto-terrestrial or the extraterrestrial? Extraterrestrial can mean not from Earth origin, or it can be not habituated on Earth. And it really kind of is academic unless you realize, wait a second, what if these beings seeded all or some of life on Earth, or just us? And they've been here and they're constantly in an opaque, ambiguous relationship with us. And they constantly cloak the cataclysm. They say, oh, don't worry, it's fine, nothing to worry about. And we keep on getting reset and reset and reset. This means that one of our parents wants us dead. Probably the other one wants us to like make it. And this is really the thing that I think the people who just deny the UFO phenomenon, who might be abductees, who might have dissociated away, they might recognize epigenetically the cataclysmic harbinger of beings or saucers in the sky. And does that make sense? Like, what came first doesn't really matter unless you realize, wait a second, if this happens over and over, it does matter because it suggests betrayal, and the same thing is going on with the government. What is it that they know? And what is it that they're not telling us first? Because they're trying to save their own
not just what they know, but what do they want?
What do they want? Well,
they
they're giving us
want a
tickets to the
specific
Titanic.
end.
But I think they're selling tickets to the Titanic because they want us on the wrong ship so that they can get the ships that don't sink. That's what I think is happening here. I think it's real betrayal.
Are we moving to Wyoming, guys?
I think they want to see these things.
For sure.
They don't just want everything to end. They want to see the angels, or they want to see them. They're calling them here. That's what it seems like to me.
I think that's going on too. But I think the ones staying quiet, right? Like the Andre Carson's, I don't think he's doing like satanic ritual abuse. I think he just wants his kids and his family in the dumps. You know, I think so. I think we're seeing a lot of things going on. And you're right, the accelerationist stuff, the Luciferian stuff, like everything is happening.
They want it.
They want it. All right, let's get over to the three-body problem. So this, if y'all don't know, and I'm so pissed, guys. I'm really pissed. Me and my friend Megan, we worked really hard and I really liked it. Review and like historical thing of the three-body problem, but Netflix was just going crazy on the copyright. Maybe I should double check it. Maybe they like laxed it since it's like not trending anymore. But basically, three-body problem is like a long book series about basically an invading alien force. What's really interesting is, and maybe I should have brought Megan here for this, but China did a lot of really interesting moves to basically like secure dominance of the Hugo Awards. And this is coming from Megan, so thank you, Megan, for this knowledge. In like the late 90s to 2000s, basically like they weren't all about the science fiction. And then all of a sudden they did all these kind of political moves to have a lot of influence on like the largest like science fiction body, or one of them, which is the Hugo Awards. And then with that, they then kind of promoted this book. Oh, shoot. They kind of promoted this book. And I've heard some people say that, like, the whole, like, the three-body problem, and I didn't pull this either, but y'all should go watch my my UN video, because China had this whole, like, conference. It reminded me of Mewtwo from Pokemon 1, where basically, like, China invited all these ufologists from all over the world in, like, 2018 to go there, and they were going to try and bring the UFO issue to the UN, and it's crazy. It never gets reported on. But the U.S., with the help of Lue Elizondo, shouts out Counterintel Lue, they basically swooped out that entire effort. All the people that China had invited to China for this, mind you, these trips were paid with communist state funds. They had ufologists from Argentina, from Turkey, from Belarus, from Bulgaria. Like, I bet you a lot of people in the community couldn't even name a UFO case or ufologist from Bulgaria, but China paid with communist state funds to have them go there. Anyways, the U.S., with help of Lue Elizondo, basically usurped that whole effort, and now that's what you see coming out of San Marino. It's all the same group of people that got their trips paid for by China. I just find it hilarious. Anyways, that being said, I wanted to say that to show China's in the mix with this stuff, guys. Like, and the fact that they did that stuff for the Hugo Awards and they're promoting this is almost like a required reading in China, this book. And I've heard plenty of people speculate that the reason is because, like, this is part of China's, like, low-key disclosure process if there is some kind of imminent thing. So let's just listen to Lue Elizondo talk about the book, and then maybe I'll just chat about it. Oh wait, there we go.
Number one book that has been selling in China for a very long time is The Three-Body Problem. And that is an interesting book if you know what that book is about. The fact that China is not only, allowing it, but endorses it. Why is that? If, you're talking about a potential contact with an alien species at some point in the future, yes, it's a science fiction book, but it's interesting to me that of all the books, that tends to be number one in China, and by the way, is promoted quite heavily.
What's the gist of it?
I'll say very, very, very briefly because I don't want to give anything away.
Shouts out Rob Heatherly and Fessler, friend.
We receive a message, and we know that within a certain period of time that there is going to be an alien species visiting Earth. They have told us so, and they are on their way. And it goes through the hypothetical of what if situations. Interesting.
What if there was knowledge, Kurt, that was so volatile, so earth-shattering, that the mere knowledge of that getting out could predicate an action that could potentially threaten the entire species? Hypothetically, imagine a scenario where maybe we had 50 years to prepare for something, but now that the cat's out of the bag, that existential action will happen tomorrow. And by the way, we're not ready for it. We're not prepared for it. We don't have a countermeasure. We don't have a capability to counter this. And so from a very real perspective, a national security perspective, the mere fact that you are acknowledging the existence of something may predicate an action or an act that you're not prepared to have right now.
In many ways, I think the word God.
Let's pause there because I just want to focus on Lue, and I think I might play that actually at the end. But oh shoot, where the hell am I at? But these are some pretty interesting.
We cannot
from Lue here, and the way he's talking about it is very interesting. Anything about that stick out to you with him talking about three-body problem and the way he was almost like the whole 50-year, and then something happened, and now we have like 10 years thing? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, there's this like idea, that they're watching, and if we react and they know that we're watching them as well, so like weird stuff could happen, and this idea that like, we can't let them know that we know. And as soon as they know that we know, then the fuse is started, and so we got to like gather up resources and figure out what we can right now before any major action is taken.
Well, he also says save the species, which is more in line with continuity of government, right? Like you'll have like 10,000 people there. You'll have the enough genetic diversity of all their DNAs picked out, which by the way is all stored in Utah. So if you're Mormon, like don't worry about the apocalypse. You're good.
I didn't realize it was all stored in Utah. That's interesting.
It is. Mormons have this prepperism built into their religion. Essentially, they're probably going to be more or less okay. But saving the species is very different. 10,000 people. There's a huge gulf between 8 billion and 10,000. So this idea, if we have 10 years to preserve the species, that means there's no room to tell humanity over those 10 years. By the way, we're only saving 0.00001% of you, right? That's not an option. So what do? You do a slow disclosure, because maybe part of the preparation is there's going to be retaliation when you reveal the phenomenon. If the US government doesn't have the UFO tech, this UFO tech works post-grid. You take down the whole grid and these UFOs still fly. And if Lockheed reverse engineered it, but the US military doesn't have it, well, then you need a slow disclosure plan to get the public to realize, holy shit, Lockheed is hiding UFOs from the government. So I think this whole, when we hear the thing from David Lanier that disclosure died with the UAPDA, the Schumer amendment, I think we're saying like the whole thing about disclosure isn't about revealing the full truth of the phenomenon to people. It's about wresting away stolen tech from contractors' hands, putting it back into the US military for the preservation of the species. And none of it is about us.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get over to the next one.
We cannot.
So this is the new messaging. So everything we just kind of seen was pre-Lue's little Exodus, pre-Lue's book tour. Now he's back, and he seems to be more open about it. So remember, like before, this was kind of all we get. We got this thing. We got him recommending Chains of the Sea. Listen to what he says on Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast in the world, one that he made the point at the end of being like, your voice is more powerful than like some governments. This is an interesting little exchange that happened.
Prove that they're not here to do something bad. But what we do know is that they can interfere. They're very interested in our military capabilities, and they have interfered with our nuclear capabilities, right? Mm-hmm. From a military perspective, that looks an awful lot like something we call IPB, initial preparations of the battle space, or perhaps even ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Whenever we're going to go into a foreign country and invade, we do long-range surveillance. We want to know how the enemy operates, how they react. So even if there's a 2% chance, 5% chance that these things are here to do something malevolent, right? Mm-hmm. Then we probably should not tip our hands to the fact that we are aware of it publicly, because what happens the moment that the bad guys in a foreign country find our surveillance team over the border? We've got 12 hours. We got to invade, because the element of surprise is now over. So some may feel in the government the mere fact of acknowledging this, if there is some sort of malintent, may push up artificially a clock that exists somewhere for these things to say, okay, the foolish humans are now, the cat's out of the bag. They know we're here. We need to go in now for whatever reason they may have. So that is the military mindset potentially of some of these individuals who want to keep this secret.
So they're worried about an actual invasion.
Well, but they have to be. That is right, that is the role of our national security apparatus, right? Even if there's a 1% chance.
Right. I'm just gonna pause it there because I think we kind of get the gist there. But that's interesting. What he's saying is that like people in the government still actively are thinking that just the act of disclosing like will lead to some kind of response from the NHI, which I find pretty interesting.
Well, you also need to afford it. There's the cost for it. Like if what I'm saying is true, that if these events in '89 really happened, we couldn't afford disclosure militarily. We didn't have the tech, and it still had to be fully reverse engineered. You need to pay a price for disclosure.
All right, we're going to just power through some of these. Tupa, whenever you want, hop in, but we're going to power through. We're going to power through mode right now. Now, this was another one. Matt Ford, friend of the show.
Really close. We're really so close.
Here's him and Lue, right? So you got to think, too, this is Lue's favorite show. This is Lue's most doomery statement, I think. I don't think those are coincidences.
There have been some significant rumors of events regarding UAP that may occur within, like 10 years or so. I don't know if it's something coming or a natural disaster. You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them, and I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
In terms of
okay, so yeah, pretty interesting. And again, like, I don't think he's scripted, but I think Matt knows what to not ask about and what you can ask about based on their interactions behind the scenes. So I don't know. Pretty interesting. We got a super chat from Gray Scout. It says, "This is one of the best live podcasts I've ever listened to. I'm probably never sleeping again, though." Yep, that's why I did 10 disclaimers, guys, because I've literally seen people like get some of this information and have like radically sudden like mental state changes. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. But yeah, any thoughts on this Lue thing? Because then I think we got a few more slides, but if not, I mean,
I got so much to say about Lue, but we'll just keep it moving.
We'll keep it moving.
Yeah, I can hold it to the end.
There is some speculation, and I won't say specifics, that there may be something in later on, but the problem is I wouldn't go to the bank with it, and what the specifics are, because it's first of all it's hearsay, and it's also yes, there was an official effort by some people in the government to actually look at this data, and there were some products produced. That's a fact. I won't go into more detail than that, but it wasn't 2027.
Okay,
and it was based upon certain observations. And again, I'm very careful, because what I don't want to do is people are going to take this, they're going to hang on to these words and say, Lue said something's coming. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there were some people who were anticipating something happening, and it was officially considered by some people based upon certain things, and a product was written. anything beyond that, I really don't want to discuss, because I think what happens is people take that and they take it to the bank.
Sure.
And that's very dangerous.
Name of this user is brilliant, so 10 points for that. This is from King Milkfart, and they say, how do you feel about a supposed impending event that is coming? Do you feel anxious, happy, excited? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, great question. Almost a trick question. Very, very clever. Very, very well worded. There's been a lot of talk about something happening. I am aware through certain channels of that same discussion. It may not necessarily be the exact dates that people are thinking right now. And quite frankly, we're not really quite sure what to think of it. Right now, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors going around. There is some discussion behind closed doors about maybe something occurring. But let me preface here, before people start running to the hills and say, oh my God, Lou just said that something's going to happen. Well, of course, something's going to happen. Something always happens, right? I wake up every morning and there's something going on. Let me back out of that question just a little and maybe answer it a little bit more broadly. I think with everything, any type of event, there's always going to be a little bit of fear from people. It's natural. It's a human reaction to the unknown. But let's keep in mind that also with that comes a lot of opportunity, right? The first time we ever flew a plane probably was pretty scary for the Wright brothers. I imagine, hey, this thing actually going to fly, right? And the same thing holds true when the first person like Chuck Yeager, broke the sound barrier. Yeah, it's scary. Life can be scary, but it can also be full of opportunities. And if we don't take these chances and we live our lives in a tiny little test tube or petri dish, then we're never really going to experience, life as it should be experienced. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. But with everything, the real big issue is how we deal with new information. Um, you know, most things in life that happen that we're scared of doesn't really care about the human calculation. They don't care about how we interpret things. Things just happen, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane or a rainbow, for example. It's how we interpret that information that I think at the end of the day is going to allow us to seize upon new opportunities as they present themselves. I know I'm talking really kind of obliquely here because I'm being very careful not to I don't want to provide information that I don't know 110%. So I'm being a little bit vague on purpose.
It's always tough, isn't it, Lou, to give everyone everything they want all at once, right? So
no, it's a great question, right? I mean, I'd want to know too. Look, there's been rumors going around that something's going to happen here, whether it's 2027 or 2036 or fill in the date. As it relates to UAP, I think we need a little more time to see if there's some validity behind this. And then let our, if it is, let our government officials do what they do best and try to work together to figure this out collectively for all of us, right?
Sounds good. We are surpassing 750 people odd already. Wow. I know thousands of people have already come through this.
Okay, this one's interesting. Another friend of the show, Disclosure Mike.
Really close.
He's gonna be a freaking whistleblower, Disclosure Mike, soon enough. But he's actually whistleblowing right here again too. So here's what and basically here's the TLDR. I'll just cut to the chase with you guys. I think this is what Lue Elizondo is telling people behind the scenes he believes, based on this is somebody who Lue is close with, retweets him all the time. Low-key, he's somebody who Lue asked to do like weird little missions for, like little doxing and harassment missions for Lue's critics. So that's like a level of trust, level of confidence you have that, he's not asking everyone to do these weird things. Here's what he says is going on behind the scenes. And I think this is, like I said, I think this is kind of, if you really wanted to know what Lue kind of thinks, I think it's something like this, but that he would never say. It's this. Here we go.
And again, real quick, I've been listening. I heard what you said, Kent, about Ramirez, Bledsoe, the different dates and years.
Years.
My understanding from within the government, and this has not been publicly discussed, is that it's not a premonition or putting out a guess about what may or may not be coming. My understanding is that hypothetically, if there is an agreement that's in place with an advanced civilization here on this earth with us, the reason that they have not wiped us out is because of an agreement that is in place. Simply, they are so technologically advanced, we would be no threat to them or able to prevent or stop them from removing us from the planet and doing whatever they wanted to do. The reason they have not is because there is some sort of an agreement that's in place that prevents that. What is the terms of the agreement as far as if we're so inferior and primitive to their technology, what is it from us that they would need that would be of value to them? Obviously,
biological material.
If they're dealing
Shouts out
with
JJS.
extracting biological material from the 8 billion souls on this planet, they would need control over the groups that are in control on this planet, namely our organized governments and the government structure. Because if there is activities like this going on, which occur in typical farms all around the world, and it turns out that our existence on this planet may be either a zoo or a farm, then there would have to be some understanding in place for things to go smoothly. Now, from what I've heard, the agreement, as any agreement, the terms of such over time can be violated. And let's say that the agreement that's been in place, we violated the terms on our side of the fence. As a result of that, the advanced civilization would be then enforcing the terms of the agreement by stating that you have this much time to correct your side of the bargain. If you fail to do so at this deadline, then they can either be hostile or they can make us aware that we are in fact not alone. And if that's the case and that becomes public knowledge, then we would have to accept the fact that we're not on the top of the food chain anymore. And that would be enough to send a message to regain control over our species here on this planet. And my understanding is the deadline that's in place for not shots being fired directly against us in a hostile manner, but a large presence that is publicly known and seen that would establish, without any type of hostile force or act, the realization that there might be a civilization that's in authority that's superior to ours that exists here on Earth with us. So we would then have to abide by that understanding and knowledge. So I believe that the deadline that was proposed, that I've heard about, is somewhere along the lines of the mid-2030s. Not 2024, not 2027, not 2029. It's very close to the mid